A magical mystery cure is an enormous mess, and you should feel confused when watching it. Fear not though, you're in good company. Ask around and it's either the best episode ever, or the pony shark jumping moment. Which is sad to me, because it seems to have a lot going for it. The music doesn't suck, the characters are well represented, they extol the virtues of friendship without contradicting it this time. And the music doesn't suck, so who could have a problem with that? Curse you, Hasbro! Curse you! All of you.
What exactly do you people want?
I can hear the beleaguered writers cry. Well, you know what? A lot of things, and we're all highly unpleasable. Not me, of course. I only ask that whatever you served me is garnished with a little bit of logic. Oh, but I'm a freak, apparently. Nobody listened to me. So where was I? Oh yes, this episode's a mess.
But which part's the messiest?
You spend one episode transforming your main character into another species and people will complain. Say it's poorly paced, or it's too short, or that the whole idea is just too darn strange. But I don't know. For in the show creator's own words,
I had a vision for the destinies of all these characters. I wanted Twilight Sparkle to eventually become Celestia's successor.
it was baked in from the start. You could talk about how Twi doesn't look right, or how this spoils the premise and so on, until the cows cock-a-doodle. But the truth is, this was, and forever and ever will be, Lauren Faust's fable of the little purple unicorn who could, whose destiny to become a princess was written in the stars. On her rump! Whether or not it was all part and parcel of a plan to give the adorable purple one Pegasus wings and Earth Pony power is largely irrelevant, because of course towards the end of the first season they fired poor Miss Faust, jettisoned her ideas, and everything got weird. And weirder, and weirder, and weirder, and oh what the fudge! These are not the ponies you are looking for. So, since it's season 3 and we're all obviously out of ideas, let's dust off that old story thread of turning the sparkly one royal.
Excuse me, isn't this all very poorly timed? Doesn't the story of a young lady's mission to understand friendship end when she becomes the princess of friendship?
It's a hotly contested issue, but the short answer is of course it does! This arc is closed! Yeah, alright, so she only earned that title in the next season. But there it is, really. I mean, it's so weird. This character's arc closes, and then she just sort of sits around treading water for a year? For what reason did they make Twilight a princess here? So that at the end of season 4 she could open a box with the power of super royal alicorn friendship? Yeah, see, she totally needed the power of flight to turn a key. Yeah, really get that wing power leverage in there. Story-wise, the only difference between Twilight Super and Twilight Classic is this one great big over-the-top action sequence from the next season that A, didn't amount to much, and B, was completely avoidable. For a bunch of very good reasons, at which we will now resume doing in C. Kindly turn to page 623 of your hymnals. The groundbreaking, castle-producing, title-worthy revelation Twilight Sparkle unveiled at the end of Season 4 that she apparently didn't unveil at the end of Season 3 is the real magical mystery here. Methinks they jumped the gun. But did they jump the shark? Well, let's find out, shall we? Things I don't like about the Twilight Gets Wings episode of My Little Pony. Number 5. Swirl the Bearded. Swirl the Bearded is an underwritten non-entity, and I preemptively loathe his long-deceased guts. And you... Oh, put it back in your shorts, Mr. Cheney. I have reasons. Watch. This charming season finale starts with Twilight singing about how everything is awesome, right before everything stops being awesome, on account of her closest friends having lost their little horsey minds. Indeed, it seems the main 5 have all swapped occupations as well as matching bottom bling, whilst failing, for reasons never disclosed, to understand that none of this is normal. And since rounding out second place on Twilight's big list of not normal things would happen to be her own nocturnal activities the night before, she reasons that there must be a connection. Oh, did I forget to mention Twilight Sparkle's questionable bedtime devices? Well, never mind, so did the show. Yeah, as we're told in an awkwardly situated flashback, turns out the previous night saw Princess Celestia offer the Purple One the opportunity to study the R&D of history's most honored hairy hobo, a prized article of which being a spell in potentia, capable of doing nothing for no one know-how except when in close proximity to the elements of harmony. And as luck and certain royalty would have it, there they be, ready to cause trouble and leaving Twilight the remainder of the episode to figure out precisely what the heck happened? Boy, I sure did just use a whole bunch of fancy words to recap a children's television show you all saw 2 years ago. Here's my Patreon! So what's all this got to do with Swirl the Stylish, I hear you ask? Well, that's a very good question, Scruff, because only 5 minutes into this mess and already 100 little monkeys start banging the pots of my mind! Swirl, a character whose name's been dropped more times than a Spartan child, seems to be some sort of historic centerpiece. A magic mogul who, once we're told, experienced a scholarly familiarity with the princesses akin to the sort Twilight Sparkle now enjoys. And to whom said purple filly now looks up. She wears his costume at the Nightmare Night Festival. She visits his wing at the Canterlot Library and references him consistently, if not constantly. So it's of some interest to me that in the grand totality of all My Little Pwnie, this marks the only time he's ever been recounted actually doing anything.
Oi, Anthony, you forgot about how he was the writer's convenience to explain how the sirens got to Canterlot High in the Rainbow Rocks movie.
The only time. Well, alright, Maddie, so not the only time, but this is at least the first time we're told he's ever done anything important. But what? Well, we'll get to it, but first, let's just take a closer look at this grand creation of his.
From one to another, another to one, a mark of one's destiny singled out alone, fulfilled.
Oh, whoops, never mind that. Now it's time for Twilight to sing at us. Okay, alright, now look, in the past I've said a lot of very naughty things about the music in this show, and indeed all made for children's TV MIDI music, in particular as pertaining to the stylings of a certain pink filly, which of course, and if you've been paying attention to my channel, you'll know has landed me right in a foamy brine! So, maybe I should clarify. While I still stand by most of what I said in this video, in it, I also recall saying something along the lines of, Meanwhile, on a wagon somewhere, the apples are singing about how great they are. Look, there's Pinkie Pie, and she's not singing! Yes! Yes! Shut up, Pinkie Pie! And yes, okay, alright, and the rest of you can shut your flippin' faces too. You can shut it, you can shh. Because of course it turns out that Pinkie did actually sing a line or two in the Apples Together song. I was incorrect. Mea culpa! And certainly this at least shows me that Pinkie's actress sure can sing well. But was that my point?
What was your point?
Well, you see, when I intonate that Pinkie's singing isn't pleasant, the portentous issue I'm desperately attempting to broach is not that I don't think she can sing well. It's just that I don't think she should. Pinkie's bad singing was deliberate, people. A delicious riff on all traditionally terrible children's TV music. Satire. Beautiful, beautiful satire.
Doesn't the satire have to stop once the point has been made? In the case of Pinkie satirizing stock standard children's show singing, the point was already made in the first season. We saw Pinkie being a terrible singer at least twice already. In which case, wouldn't it be apt for the songwriters to then try to make songs that they consider to be better than the music that they're satirizing?
Oh no, it's Cloud Cuckoo Country coming to kill me! No, Mr. Country, no. Not if the satire is more valuable than the songs they're making. To cut a long and boring story short, I don't often like songs in the Pony Show. But you know what, that's okay. You can have it. And I'm never gonna tell them to stop swinging away. But if I could get just one thing through to the writers, it'd be this. Just leave the crusty, boring old cranks like me a single character who gets us, to give us a bit of a chuckle through the hit and miss valley of music, and we're golden.
When I was a little filly and the sun was going down. Tell me she's not.
That right there can square the ledger with me very, very easily.
Yeah, but,
You wanna know what I think of the songs in a Madrigal History Tour?
yeah?
Well, none of it's managed to shuffle its way onto my iPod, if you know what I mean. That said, I did not hate any of it. Some I might have actually found tolerable. Might have even enjoyed a bit of it. And so might you.
Now this is the part of the script where I say something like, "There, I like the songs in the pony show. Please leave me alone." But then I remember that I don't care what you think.
Kiss off! Friendship is Magic is terrible. The music sucks and Pinky's the worst. She is the worst. She sucks, you suck, I suck, the whole world sucks. Isn't it a peach? Unsubscribe.
Yeah!
So anyway, Twilight's having a bad day.
Oh, Spike, what have I done?
Not a lot, really. At least nothing I'm sure a quick call to the princesses couldn't fix. Oh, but screw that! Now it's time to shoot down Spike's good ideas.
Spike suggests to Twilight that to help her friends, she might care to employ Zakora the zebra's traditional remedy for a similar, previously established ailment called the cutie pox.
After flatly stating to Spike that this won't work, along with his other suggestion of a memory spell she'd previously used against the Chaos of Discord, Twilight waddles away to have a sulk.
You don't wanna try and do something there, love?
Nah, because 2 minutes and 13 seconds later she returns with the solution. Apparently.
Yet, without research, experimentation, or counsel, Twilight's eyes just go bleh, whereafter she says,
I may not be able to remind them of who they are, but I can show them what they mean to each other. They'll find the part of themselves that's been lost so they can help the friend they care about so much.
Come again?
They'll find the part of themselves that's been lost so they can help the friend they care about so much.
They'll find the part of themselves that's been lost so they can help the friend they care about so much.
From the context, it is clear what you mean.
Now, a big criticism of this episode at the time was that it's somewhat poorly paced. Maybe, but perhaps a more astute observation is that it's missing bits. And because of that, we are forced to question all of the things that are happening, and all of the things that have not happened in just the last 3 minutes. Is there a reason we couldn't see Twilight at least attempt her anti-Discord memory spell, or perhaps Zakora's cutie pox remedy? I know putting extra things in there is gonna stretch the story out and maybe force it into 2 parts, if you're intent on padding it out with music. But why is that not doable? The previous season had a 2-parter finale, and all of them have had 2-parter premieres, so what? What gives? Wouldn't possibly have anything to do with the fact that it's season 3, and the studio's time, talent, and treasure is dedicated to far, far more important things. Okay, yeah. It's only arguably the most important episode of the entire series.
Well, it should have been 2 parts. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, yes.
That was the first thing I asked, and they said no, so...
Oh, Hasbro, I rescind the cookies. Surely instead you'd prefer a large trough of money. Meanwhile, back in Ponyville, since Twilight seems to think that...
The spell has changed the elements of harmony.
Naturally, rather than try to figure out how that happened, she tends to her friends directly. And you know what? Credit where credit is due. This is kinda nice to see. At her insistence, Twilight's cohorts stop thinking about themselves long enough to help each other. And if you're the kind of caring cuss who gleans moral fortitude from TV programs, I suppose you could do worse. This is nice. 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 Nicety nice. Nice. Remember nice? I remember nice. Nice is nice. Nice. No! It's also plenty of fun watching the Phillies play musical chairs with their talents. And kinda clever, especially ending it all with Pinkie Pie on Applejack's farm. I suppose they'd need everyone in tip-top condition and ready to help undo the damage done to the farm in the... Wait, what? How long's it been? Half a day? Half a day it's taken Pinkie Pie to completely wreck the place?
Sweet apple acres, always 2 steps from the
Sulfury crunch! What? Is it even worth my breath asking what's happened to the Apple family and what they must be thinking of Pinkie Pie right now? No? Oh, that's right, kids program, no brain power allowed. I'm terribly sorry, what was I thinking? Naturally, I'll go and shoot myself immediately. Anyway, with the last of the main 6 fixed, it's time for a big group hug, and it's all over. But by stove, look at that! There's almost 10 minutes left on the clock!
And with that, Twilight's eyes again go blur, and mais en fois de plus, we hear the magic words from Barstool the Swewerded.
A mark of one's destiny singled out alone fulfilled.
In a book depository!
Twilight then rushes home to jot down some prose, and we finally get to hear.
From all of us together we're friends. With the marks of our destinies made one, there is magic without end.
And with that under our belts, some doings a transpire. There's a blizz blaz and a hoo-ha, and with a hey nonny nonny and a here we go, the purple one gets herself shanghaied off to the 13th night. But it ain't over yet. From here, Princess Queen Celestia explains to Twilight that I've been spying on you the entire time, Twilight, from this amazing secret room of total omniscience. Good job learning all about that friendship and stuff. Here's the keys to the executive bathroom and the power of flight. And one magic girl horse transformation later, and Twilight's permanently cashed in her frequent flyer miles.
Which the white one officially finds corny.
Why, you've become an alicorn. I didn't even know that was possible.
And a million fanfiction writers rejoiced!
Time for a coronation party, dude.
Best coronation day ever!
And that's when Princess Celestia says,
Today, Twilight Sparkle did something extraordinary. She created new magic, proving without a doubt that she is ready to be crowned Equestria's newest princess.
Yeah, that's not how monarchies work. Twilight then says a bunch of nice stuff about friendship, and it's all over for super duper ultra reals this time. Roll credits. Right. You know, it'd just be so easy for me to simply say that I hate this. And oh boy, I'd like to, with the blazing fury of 1,000 Canterlot weddings. But nah, it's too nice, it's too well presented, and I like the premise. Yes, bear with me. But when I was a kid, I used to watch a before-school anime called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Props to my 80s peeps. A fun, well-animated fantasy with a strong female lead, partaking in an epic quest through a verdant world of cartoon whimsy. Gee, where have we heard that before? Culminating in a smashing good episode wherein a main character we've been watching forever undergoes a magic girl transformation and is revealed to be a princess. Princess Ozma, in fact. And it is as amazing today as when my tiny self first saw it and staggered around the schoolyard the rest of the day going,
WTF did I just watch?
So believe me when I say, from deep within the dustiest entwined old threads of my personal tapestry, that this business can be done well. But this is not the way to do it. What would you like me to address first? The leviathanic plot holes or the withering misappropriation of the premise and potential? Who cares? Let's nitpick. Number 5, for real this time. What happened to everyone? Remember 2 minutes ago when I asked you what happened to the Apple family when Pinkie Pie was pulling a pretender on their farm? And you didn't give me an answer to that question because you don't have one because it doesn't make any sense? Well, I'll kindly apply that question to every single other character in the show, and you might begin to understand my confusion at this clusterfuts. So how is it that no one but Purple and Purple seem to have a problem with any of this? Oh, well, why should any of these ponies care? It's only directly affecting them. Unless they're all under the spell too. Spell that doesn't affect dragons, I guess. Okay, so no, maybe everyone else is just a self-absorbed idiot, and the spell only affected the main 5. What the hell? What's going on here? What is this? Well, after sitting through some musical guff about destiny, we are told point blank,
It's not their memory, Spike. It's their true selves that have been altered.
Yeah, okay, Twilight. Well, since you seem to think that your friends' memories and their physical appearance don't constitute their true selves, maybe you'd like to clarify what does. I mean, given that they don't seem to have picked up any actual skills along with them new cutie marks, we must conclude that if anyone's destiny's been bunged up or whatever, it's only because they don't remember who they are, thanks to this largely superfluous prank of a spell that's very quickly fixed within the space of an afternoon. And how? Well, not by a counterspell, not by magical MacGuffin, alicorn magic, or even the time-traveling gypsy wizard that started it all. but by having their memories jogged. Pete's sake, you're being punked, ladies! The elements are taking the whizzle! Am I making any sense at all? Just think about this for a moment, would you please? Would this story even be possible if the fillies had full recollection of who they are? So not so complicated after all. And, can't stress this enough, has nothing to do with destiny. But oh, how this episode wishes it did. Which is offensive enough given how little corollary it bears to real life. But doubly so given that it only seems to work in this fantasy setting because they've apparently heaped one contrivance on top of another. If the fillies actually had swapped talents, well then you'd have something. They swapped talents. Nobody bats an eyelid, except for Twilight, who's suddenly thrust into the misadventure of discovering the source of her friend's madness. Or is it her own, as everyone thinks she's tumbled off the crazy wagon and into the dark door of night that some dare call the... Oh, that's alright then. Number 4. Star friggity swinging toilet swirly the beardy weirdoed. Again. Say, friend, do you recall this nonsense?
From one to another, another to one, a mark of one's destiny singled out alone, fulfilled.
It's frustrating enough that doesn't make much sense on its own. But like the buoyant late period Picasso that's just managed to survive the sinking of the Titanic, it's only belying a much bigger mess. It is heavily implied by the things that happen later that all of this was Princess Celestia's plan. But if we're to take her at her word when she says that Star Swirl never completed his magic spell, then how does she know any of this would work? Did she have to swap cutie marks with her sister, presumably, when Star Swirl began all this nonsense so many moons ago? There's a story I'd like to see, especially the part where he evidently doesn't fix it. So Celestia's plan was to recreate that experience and hope that Twilight does better. But better at what? Curing her friends? No, they did that as a team.
No magic but friendship.
But Twilight apparently did something. Maybe it's this spell she fixed.
From all of us together, together we are friends. With the marks of our destinies made one, there is magic without end.
Gee, I don't know. Does this make more sense to you? Sure looks more friendly, I guess.
And that's the whole point of the show.
Say, what does it do? Gain you access to the Ookie Spooky Zone? Is that it? Alright, but if you recall...
She created new magic.
New magic? Well, if you were waiting for Twilight to invent a way into that place, then how did you get in there? So that can't be it. I suppose the elements were simply rigged to take her there when she proved her worth or whatever. But hang on, how did she prove her worth? With this spell that doesn't seem to have been given a function? New magic?
But today, Twilight Sparkle did something extraordinary. She created new magic, proving without a doubt that she is ready to be crowned Equestria's newest princess.
But wait, hang on.
Star Swirl the Bearded is only the most important conjurer of the pre-classical era. He created more than 200 spells.
200 Did any of them do anything? And Twilight gets all this for just one that doesn't? You're getting soft in your old age, Celestia. Now, if once again we're very generous and simply assume that this new magic gobbledygook is just a huge mistake, well, great greasy glue ball bags, Batman, c'est la vie. But on the level, it's not tough to find much reason for turning Twilight into Alicorn royalty.
And that's my problem with what aired, is like, she didn't really, in my opinion, earn the wings in that particular episode.
And Star Swirl?
And there's all this Star Swirl stuff that I didn't have in there. It wasn't even mentioned in my script. So it's hard to discuss because I don't know why those changes were made.
Number 3. Destiny is a crock. It's a completely fabricated fantasy that's about as plausible as the Tooth Fairy. Indeed, unless you are some sort of biblical figure about whom prophecies are written, then, child, you absolutely do not have a dictionary definition of a personal destiny. And watching this silliness makes me question its value even in fiction. Yeah, this episode beefs the subject so royal it moves. But at least it's not as though it's missed the chance to actually teach us anything. For as the wise old time-traveling gypsy wizard himself once said,
"Your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one. Both of you."
We will, Doc!
what you have, dear, is potential, and heaven willing, the free will to fulfill it. No, sorry. Number 2.
Candlelight weddings.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since Tommy Oliver and I jammed a sharpened toothbrush between the ribs of this terrible, terrible two-parter and jangled it around. Unfortunately, we failed to kick its fetid corpse into a ditch, and so it's just been sort of sitting there stinking up the joint ever since. I apologize. Hi, I'm Anthony C. Have we met? Yes, there's a lot to dislike about the Season 2 finale. From plot hole to its broken moral. It really is the worst. Oh, just click this link already.
You ruined this episode for me.
No, my dear, I don't work for Hasbro. If I did, I would never have let them smush together 2 mutually exclusive alien invasion stories into a situation wherein the hero's primary source of defense is about to leave on his honeymoon. I wouldn't have had the villain defeat herself by the awesome power of duh. And I certainly wouldn't have benched Princess Luna during the climax for absolutely no reason. Oh yes, it's a sick old sack of suck. But I could forgive it all if it weren't for the big one. The single greatest sin this episode committed. Calling into question Princess Celestia's divinity. Yeah, we're banging that drum again. Tommy and I managed to squeeze a solid half-hour review out of this concept, so I promise not to flog the ashes, as it were. I'm only going to point out that in this context, suddenly this room doesn't make a lot of sense. The fudge is this, Celeste? You have total godlike omniscience over your entire domain from this secret impenetrable room of beholding. Gee, I wonder where that could have come in handy.
Are you a forgetful goddess?
In short, to answer my previous question, no. A magical mystery cure doesn't jump the shark, because a Canterlot wedding got there first.
Number 1. The withering misappropriation of the premise and potential.
By now, it's no mystery what went wrong here. And if it is, here's a link to that very helpful video a friend sent me. Thanks, Owen. Mwah! But would this episode really have been any better if the corporate goblins hadn't sunk their claws into it? Probably, definitely, yes. But would it have been the business? The bee's knees, the best episode ever? Well, I guess we'll never know. So instead, here's the very embarrassing bit where you get to hear what I think should have happened. As previously mentioned, this sort of story can and has been done well in the past. In fact, only very recently, in an offbeat little indie film you might have missed. Kung Fu Panda is the story of Po, a heavy-set noodle shop waiter who secretly dreams of and is destined to become a great martial arts legend. Along the way, he'll make friends, study hard, and learn valuable lessons the audience can take away. It's a fun film which gets a lot of stuff right, and in my opinion, the Pony Show ought to have totally ripped off. Now, fair warning, I'm about to spoil the spots of it, so if you haven't seen it yet, why are you still watching me? Now, like Poe, Twilight spends a great swath of time studying her craft. But unlike Poe, precious few are the moments we see her employing that knowledge usefully, and the times when she really needs to are habitually hijacked by some higher power, who always just seems to give her magic lasers to shoot at the bad guys. While on the flip side, her panda counterpart is forced to play useful, true-to-life mind games just to keep up, and eventually confronts the stunning truth that while there are some things beyond our control, sometimes whole destinies are entirely manufactured. Now take that idea and apply it to the pony show. Have an episode where Twilight must use the things we've seen her learn to outwit a great and powerful villain, like this Trixie episode. But this time, when push comes to shove, she's forced to pretend to be an Alicorn princess like Celestia, wherein she learns that stunning truth that
there is no secret ingredient.
That in a world where giving anyone wings is already very possible, and more importantly, terrifying power is obtainable by anyone, suddenly whether or not you understand the value of friendship becomes everything. And from Dragon Warrior powers to Alicorn wings, destiny is merely a trick to prove it. Eh? If we must insist that Celestia isn't a goddess, then how about we also insist that she is something more practical? Yeah, right, so it's a terrible idea, but at least it is one. Because from where I'm sitting, this grand saga, as with so much in life, was better when the Panda Man did it. That's all I have to say about that. So until next time, bugger off, unsubscribe, and for good hair health, take saw palmetto, vitamin B, rhodiola, and fish oil. Ciao.